Um, do you have any comments to make before I get started with my little soliloquy?
I don't know if it's intentional, but I've noticed the videos. I'm only getting audio and then the slides. I don't know if that's a quirk that's going on or what. Like, I'm not getting like a video.
Oh yeah. What have you tried to watch?
So far, all of the ones that are currently due, I'm actually right now I've finished everything except for the beginning of the project, or the beginning of working with Xcode. I've finished all the way up to Introduction to Xcode.
Okay, you're in AOC1 then, right?
Yes. Um,
That's not intentional.
I mean, I can screen share if you need me to and show you what it's doing. Um, or you know, I don't know if, but when I click the video or whatever, I just get this little black box.
Overview of iOS and object.
Sorry, I get a black web page and just straight audio.
Well, I'll have to have a look at that for sure. That's not right. Okay, thanks for the heads up on that.
Not a problem. That's right now the only thing I'm really.
Well, that's a big thing. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. I'll see if I can figure out what's wrong there. Those should be, videos with video and audio. Okay, so we have this new FSO3 platform, and that is going to be the cause of our problems with things like videos not running. We had to convert everything over to run on there, and evidently something went awry in that process. So I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, I don't know if you intended the slides to be separate, but I can view the slides, and the audio I just have to kind of manually sync it and go through the slides myself. So.
Okay. The keynote slides don't have audio that is supposed to accompany them.
Okay. I know like the Objective-C overview. Yeah, the keynote. But I know the audio and slides are separate. Like I'm not getting any kind of video with the MP4 at all.
MP4? Okay. All right, I will check and see if I can figure out what's causing that. All right, most of your assignments and videos are due on Thursdays, midnight Eastern Standard Time. This week, they're not due till Saturday because, you didn't get to start till Monday. Discussions are due on Fridays, except for the first week when they're due on Sunday. You need to turn in stuff via FSO. If you want to do an early submission so that I can look at it and give you feedback, don't turn that in via FSO. That's not your final submission. Send that to me by putting it either in your GitHub or your Dropbox, and send me the link to it. Don't send the project directly through email because Full Sail will quarantine it, and then I might not see it for a while or at all. So you need to just send me the link to it. If you want me to look at stuff and give you feedback before you turn in this final submission, you can do that, but I need to have it normally by Tuesday, midnight Eastern Standard Time. This week, Thursday, midnight Eastern Standard Time. Late penalties are 25% off per day, and there's also a hit to the professionalism grade. This is standard Full Sail policy. If you think you're not going to be able to get done in time, ask for an extension at least 24 hours in advance. But if you have an emergency that comes up, let me know that as soon as you can. I do not give extra credit. I only accept one final submission, so don't send me one and then send me another one later and say, oh, no, I want you to grade this one instead. Only one final submission unless I send it back to you and ask you to resubmit it. I don't require GitHub commits. You can use GitHub or not, as you like. Make sure that you have all your resources in the project folder, including the images. What happens is sometimes people have the images or some other file on their computer, but it's not in the project folder. And it works fine for you because it's on your computer and your project knows where it is. But when you send it to me, if it's not in the project folder, it obviously doesn't find it because you didn't send it to me. So make sure that you have everything in your final place. If you didn't, then you're going to have to, if you got something that's outside the project folder, you're going to have to delete it and then put it in the project folder and then put it, add it back in to the project. We're using Xcode 5 and iOS 7 at this point, but some of the videos haven't been updated yet. We're working on getting those updated as quickly as possible, but that they are time intensive. Some have been updated recently, and I'll be adding more. And when I add a new one, I'll put in announcements that I've upgraded it. So just for those of you that are downloading everything at the beginning of the class, just be aware that there might be changes coming up. If something states that talks about using an XIB file, you are encouraged to use storyboards instead. Storyboards and XIB files and storyboards are somewhat similar, only instead of having a separate file for each view controller like you would with an XIB file, you can put them all in one storyboard and then work on the interface with all your view controllers in one place. And also the storyboards allow you to connect them. Let's see. I think each project should state whether you're supposed to be using storyboards or code, so pay attention to that. Let me know if you run into any problems or if you have suggestions for improvement. Make sure you send me any communications to pcorn@fullsail.com. Don't send it to my Gmail address or any other address because I probably will not see it if you do. And note that it's .com on the end of my email address, not .edu like it is for students. Any questions about that?
Pretty standard stuff.
Pretty standard stuff. Okay. Now for AOC1. Let's see. You have your Welcome to Objective-C, Professionalism, Overview of iOS and Objective-C, Intro to Xcode, your first program, Objective-C Intro, console logging and output, loops and conditionals, debugging with breakpoints, basic memory allocation, lots of stuff to start off with here. NS strings and mutable strings, arrays and mutable arrays, container classes including arrays, NS mutable arrays, and dictionaries, single view applications, the window and view hierarchies, view controllers overview, labels, and for your first project you'll be using a lot of those things you learned about labels and strings and arrays, and you're going to choose a book that you have read and use that as a source of information for the project. You need to use at least 3 different colors for the labels and at least 3 different colors for the text, which are not the same between the two, so you've got at least 6 different colors there. plus a different color, again, for the background of the view. So you've got at least 7 different colors that you're going to be using here. The text needs to be legible, so choose the colors wisely. Also, please choose colors that I can tell are different, not that I have to go into the code to look and see whether it's a different color. All UI elements in this first project should be created in code and not using storyboards at this time. We do this so that you can understand the UI creation, how it works in detail, and know a little more about what's going on under the hood. Later on, we'll get into storyboards. All your code in this case will go into the viewcontroller.m file. So you'll be creating it with a single view application. You want to change the background color of the view to any color that you want, but it needs to be something different from the default color and different from the label and text colors. You're going to make book information and UI labels. And there's a lot of detail about that in the assignment directions about what labels should be there. There's a title label, an author label, etc. And in most cases, there's a static label that says, like, the word author, for example, and then another label that would actually contain the name of the author. And pay attention to the justification. Okay, labels and arrays. Now, you need to create an NS array and make sure this is not supposed to be an NS mutable array. It's a regular NS array of 5 items that are talked about in the book. And those items that are talked about in the book are going to be NS strings. You need to add the items to the array. Don't put commas in the array, and don't put the word "and" in the array. Those are supposed to be added inside the loop that builds the NS mutable string. You create a variable of NS mutable string type and allocate that, and then you loop through the array with a for loop or some other kind of loop if you prefer. You loop through the NS array that you created and use the append string method to append each of those items to the NS mutable string, separated by commas, and then the last item should be preceded by the word "and." So, for example, dinosaurs, comma, jeeps, comma, storm, comma, giant turkeys, comma, and eating people. Okay, so you're building this NS mutable string in the loop, adding the items from the array one at a time, and then putting in the commas and the "and" wherever they belong. Okay?
Fun times.
Fun times? That's the tricky part. Okay, once you have created that, you're going to have you're going to add that to the last label. Let's see. You might need to add to the number of lines necessary to that label, so that you can get your entire list of items from the book to show up. Make sure that all the code is presented neatly and logically and refactored as much as possible, and be sure to include a generous number of comments. I do take off points if there aren't comments. Okay, so any questions about that?
Just what's an NS mutable string, and yeah, I'm sure stuff that'll be answered when I'm going through the material.
Exactly. Yes, that will be in there, and hopefully I can get the videos to show up for you to to make all that a little clearer. I'll work on that right away.
Okay.
Okay, and welcome to the class. And if you don't have any additional comments or questions, then I'm going to move on to the material for AOC2.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, good. So you can drop out if you'd like.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Good night. Okay, for folks in AOC2, you're going to be looking at custom classes, why we inherit from NSObject, custom class syntax, accessing classes, the differences between public, private, and protected, how to access class data from an external class by using properties and getter-setter methods. Let's see, you have a practice 1, which involves creating an Objective-C class and defining some variables in the .h file, and then defining an init method in the .m file and creating some properties. Then there's static methods, what a static method is, why you need them, and how to create one in your custom class. Inheritance, how to inherit from a custom class and add child class functionality, and how to override base class functionality with your own methods. Practice 2 involves creating a base class called shape and adding a method called print num sides. You use nslog to print the number of sides in the num sides variable, and you use inheritance to create child classes called triangle and square, and set num sides variable, the num sides variable appropriately for each of those child classes. Private methods. Okay, and then practice 3, you take one of the custom classes you've created and add 3 methods to the interface section and call them from within the class. Now the first assignment is actually the hardest one for the class. It involves designing and implementing 5 classes, 1 base class, 3 subclasses, and a factory class that can generate objects for the 3 subclasses depending on which one is requested. You need to wrap it all in a single screen app that uses labels to show the values of the created objects. Okay, be sure that your classes, both your subclasses and your base class, they're going to have a calculation method. That calculation method needs to return a value, because you're going to take that return value and print that on one of the labels. Now, anything that happens inside a method is not the result of the method. The result of the method is its return value. Okay, anything that happens inside the method besides the return value is just a side effect, and that's not considered the result of the method. The result of the method, again, is the return value. So you have to return a value, because that's what you're going to be printing on the on one of the labels. So your return value cannot be void, because that would mean it's not returning a value at all. Okay, so that's probably the biggest mistake that people make in this assignment, is they try to print something that's really a side effect, a variable that's been changed inside the method on the label instead of the return value, and they don't return a value, they use void for their return value of their methods, and that's not what you're supposed to do. So that's about it for week 1. Let me know if you have any trouble, and welcome to the class, and I will be talking to you later. Thanks. Bye.